Welcome to our coverage of the 94th Tour of Lombardy, the 10th round of the World Cup, and we'll pick up the pictures for you shortly, as we now have a breakaway group of maybe 8 or 9 riders, but they haven't got much more than about 30 seconds lead as far as we know so far. So the leading group on your screen now, they've got about 60 kilometres to go towards the finish of the race, and a lot of hopes and ambitions on this particular race, because being the last round of the World Cup, the man wearing the jersey as leader on the competition, Eric Zabel, he needs to finish 6th or better. If Chamil wins this final round and Zabel is outside the top 6 places, then Chamil will get the jersey. That's the situation then. So anything like now, if these riders stayed away, will be beneficial to Zabel to allow a break to go down the road. So thanks for joining us on this final road race of the season. We're going on into the track scene after this one. I hope you join me, David Duffield, in Manchester next week, but here we are bringing to a conclusion our coverage of the road racing this year. Just picking up the numbers in that breakaway group. You can see him on his screen now, the long string coming along. So we have 9 riders. Just take you through those riders in this breakaway group at the moment. We have in the breakaway group then, from the Fassa Bortolo team, none other than Vladimir Belli, number 81 on your screen. He's got his teammate in there, to another very strong rider who rode extremely well in the Vuelta and throughout this season too, Rumsas from Latvia. Rumsas is also there for Fassa Bortolo. So watch him go around here. They've got also in that breakaway group at the moment Kodal from the Lamprey team, and so he'll be in that sort of pink and light blue coloured jersey. In there with the Liquigas Padra team, you probably spotted him just then, those who follow our sport, was Davide Rebellin, 121, riding for the Liquigas team, that sort of black coloured jersey. And in there too, he's got his teammate from Slovenia, Stangeli. So that's a good move by them to put 2 riders up in this breakaway group. As to whether they'll stay out there, I'm not quite sure. Also in the breakaway group, another top man. This is the Bartoli, on whom much of Aim's aspirations were had by the Italian Tifosi to get the medal in the World Championships. Just, a week to go today? No, a week tomorrow. Unfortunately finishing 4th spot. Bit of friction, by the way, between him and Bettini. The two have been great bosom mates for many years now. Seem to have a bit of a falling out this week as to who should have done what in the World Championship. So Bartoli is in there at the moment in that breakaway group. Also, by the way, the Mapei Quick-Step team, spot 148 when our cameras go back there. No, you Brits like Taffy, who grabbed that victory in the Paris Tour. He's also riding, but he's going to support Bartoli in this particular race to try and get that one scooped up by the end of the season for the Mapei team. And also in that breakaway group for Panarigern, they've sort of got an orangey coloured jersey, is the rider from Sweden, Axelsson. So Axelsson has also made it up into that breakaway group at the moment. And 186 in the breakaway group is Beitzeberg. So another big hitter at the back end of the year. Usually comes good towards the back end. Had quite a good season so far anyway. And the one man that is probably whole of Italy is holding his breath for is Casagrande, who's also made it into this breakaway group. He's been tipped as a likely winner today, and the way he goes on the individual one-day classics, then he might be there with a chance of getting a victory today. But they've got to stay away. We're waiting for confirmation of the gap back to that breakaway group, as we're now something like about 50 kilometres to go from the finish. Welcome to our coverage. If you're setting your video recorders to start, I think we were due to start at 2:30 Central European British time, 1:30 in the 3:30. That's right, in Central European time, 2:30 Britain time. If you set your video machine for that particular time, you're going to miss the early bit. So what I'll do when we go through the next 15 minutes is to update and restart it again, so that people who set their video machines might be out on their bikes today, although pretty miserable, I understand, back in Great Britain, and the gap only 30 seconds, so by the time you set your machine in 10 minutes time, they might well have been caught. A very undulating course yet again on this very famous race of the falling leaves, it's known as. And there is some absence of the stars, by the way. There's quite a number of people who have not made it to the start line today out of the top 20. People like Lance Armstrong not riding, come to the end of his year. Heras lying 5th in the world at the moment. Well, it isn't exactly his cup of tea or bottle of Chianti to ride here today. Ulrich, again, who had that crash in the Paris Tour, not riding today. And Laurent Jalabert, who's had that stomach trouble in the World Championship, he's not either riding. But the good news, if you're Danish, I suppose, is that Laurent Jalabert has now signed a contract with the memory card Jack and Jones team. There's been a lot of to-ing and froing as to where Jalabert was going, but he's chosen now to go into this Danish team, which is called CSC memory card next year, and masterminded by Bjorn Ries. So you'll find him in different colours next year. He was talking about trying to see out his last 1 or 2 years, Jalabert, riding for a French team. Well, you can't get more different from France than going to Denmark, I suppose, with a team which is just into the first division. It graduated last year just by a few points to move into the first division. They're cutting the first division down the UCI next year by a couple of teams, so it's going to be a hard fight for them to stay in there. But if they've got Jalabert, who has been the world's #1 for goodness knows how long now, all his points he'll bring to that team should keep them up in the first division. But they're not the only ones going out with a checkbook. You may have caught up with the news. In fact, it was rumoured in cycling, the comic this week, that Bradley Wiggins was to go off to the Linda McCartney team. Well, I got a press release yesterday from the team which said yes, they've now signed Bradley Wiggins. He'll be riding in Manchester this coming week, but he's now turned pro for the Linda McCartney team. We wish him the best of luck. One of the youngest riders anyway. I think he's just done 20 now, Bradley, past junior pursuit champion of the world, and he's also moved across. So many things going on at the moment. I thought I'd just put you in the picture there. There has been many rumours flying about, and I can now confirm that Jalabert has gone to memory card and Bradley Wiggins has gone to the Linda McCartney team. But there again, there'll be some disappointment. The rumours flying round, if they're not so much rumours, certainly the initial selection, as our camera's picking up for a rather nice balmy day for the finish of the race today in Bergamo, that the situation is, according to my spies, is that Bradley Wiggins and his teammate out there at the moment are not going to be riding in Rob Hales. He and Bradley Wiggins are not going to be riding the Madison. For some reason, the selectors of the British Cycling Federation have decided that they would separate, well, put them into the pursuit, individual pursuit and team pursuit, rather than go for the Madison, which I can't quite comprehend, because there I was sitting in Sydney watching him thunder around, looked like going to a guaranteed medal in the Olympic Games Madison, when they were floored by the Spanish, who just cut down inside the track and took them both out with took Rob out anyway. So Rob Hales hit the deck and lost the chance of a possible medal. Well, the spies also tell me that Martinello and Velo are not going to be racing in the Madison in Manchester, nor are the two Australians that got the gold medal either. So it seems to me, they're only saying, yes, let's go for the pursuit, but it seems strange to let those two lads out of the frame when they could be in, barring accidents, with a medal on that occasion. Well, let's rejoin us now, this breakaway group of 9 riders here. Something like about 50 kilometres to go towards the finish of this, the final round of the World Cup, the Tour of Lombardy. A great race which dates back to 1905, by the way, 1905. It's one of the oldest races on the international calendar, and this just shows that breakaway group. I mentioned it before, who are in that group. Bocharov, I think, is coming across to join them. He hadn't quite caught up the last information we had over our headphones, and he was chasing to get there. The gap's only hovering around about 30 seconds, with about 50 kilometres to go. Then they could still be pulled back. There's a real top brass in there. You can see all those numbers coming up. When you've got a 1 after your name, then you are somebody to be contended with. And we certainly know Bell is in there, for instance, 81, riding. That's him on his screen now for Fassa Bartolo. And then the Italian champion, Bartoli, just behind in the green, the white and the red. And they're moving up behind. You can probably just spot Casagrande, 221. And in there, Axelsen, 171. Bartoli, 141. Rebellion, 121. So those are the star riders. They're the people with the ones on, which show that they're the team captains going through. And in fact, Rebellin's also got Stangeli, who does see him the 122. That's Casagrande at the back here, number 221 on your screen. So we've got some really good riders out there, and I just wonder if they popped off a bit too quick, because 50 kilometres to go on this particular run along the course now. And going into toward the back end, they've got the climbs, virtually the worst ones have gone behind them. They've got one at Berbeno and then one at Baccola yet to come. And the final one at Baccola comes with no more than about 6 or 7 kilometres from the finish. Nasty little thing that flicks up before we go into Bergamo. The route you can see here with the river running alongside them, there's been some talk. In fact, I got some phone calls saying, hey, it might all be changed because of the floods and the way in which the avalanches have caused trouble in this part of the world. You probably caught up with it. I didn't see much of it because I was out on my travels, but it does appear they've been through some pretty rough times in this part of the world. But the one thing about the Tour of Lombardy, it's had a checkered career over the years. It's never always had exactly the same course. It's changed a little bit here, a little bit there. So I knew full well when I was getting the information through there might be a few problems. I said, no, the Italians will not allow this one to be cancelled unless, of course, we had another avalanche or another a big fall of rain that would completely wash the thing out. Bike riders are hard men, and they've been racing now since the early part of the season. Many of the riders taking part in this race, or some of them started out in January, then went on all the way through, and now we're getting towards the back end of the season as far as they're concerned. So I felt that there will be every chance for the race to go on. You can see the raging torrents on the right-hand side, not really affecting the riders here as they're down in the valley before we get to those two final climbs today. They've done a little loop round this time. It's going now at the moment in what I'm called anti-clockwise direction, coming back in towards Bergamo. Not quite sure if the world champion has made it this far. We haven't had all the rundown on the big group, but we'll look to see if he's in there in his rainbow jersey, because Weinstein's said he would ride in the Tour of Lombardy, although he was saying he was tired in the head. He physically wasn't too badly off, but he felt that he was a bit exhausted mentally, and that therefore he might not be riding in the Tour of Lombardy. But he would start because he comes from Bergamo, where the race is going to finish, and he felt that he owed it to his public and to his sponsor, even though he's changing camps next year to ride and to show off the rainbow jersey. So we haven't yet caught up with you in the main pack, because you imagine with the list of starters we got on this particular occasion, there were 166 riders from 23 teams. We don't get everyone updated in our headphones. What I do know is that Eric Zabel, and I'll repeat this in a minute in case you switched on your recording machines at home, because I think we were due on air at 1:30 the hour, so I'll come back to it in a minute. Eric Zabel has climbed off his bike, and that was after 25 kilometres. We don't know why yet, but he certainly climbed off his bike after 25 kilometres, and so Zabel not in the race, and that opens the door for Chamil. Now, Chamil had to get back the points going into the race today. He had 276 points, and Eric Zabel had 347 points, and there was 100 points for first spot and 70 for second. So if in fact Chamil can finish first or second, that will give him 346 points, which isn't quite enough. Even if Zabel doesn't finish, add on 100 gives him 376, he can win. Add on 70 only gives him 346 points. So Chamil has to win today to get that victory off Zabel. But there's a lot of people in there who aren't interested in the World Cup at the moment, just want to come out victors of this tremendous end-of-season classic, the Tour of Lombardy, 94th. And the total distance, by the way, is now the gap is growing with the rise on your screen here. The total distance today, 258 kilometres, that's 161 miles. That's a heck of a long time to be in the saddle. When many of these riders also rode last Sunday the World Championship in Plouay. It's not just a matter of riding the Worlds, it's then getting in your in the team car, going off to the airport, then flying all the way across and starting training again when the weather is quite miserable and it's getting dark at night. Not ideal conditions at all. That's the Panarina rider that's going off in front of you now, and setting off then, that's Axelsen now on your screen there, 140, that's Kodal. That's Rebellin, Black Desert, Bartoli, and the two riders fast up Bartola. Belli is there, 81 on your screen, and 88 just in front of it, Rumsas. That's a very good combination indeed, and I think they'll be driving this little break along very hard indeed. So much of the boys that really matter are in this breakaway group. Now, we're also going to get some tactics coming in regarding the team position overall too, because the battles being raging between Mappé and the Rabobank team. Both of them have got a rider in this particular breakaway group now. Bartoli's in there, and for Rabobank, Beekseberg. So that may or may not settle the difference in the team award, but certainly Bartoli smarting under his 4th place in the World Championship last year. Very determined, I think, to ride this race a little more intelligently, I think would be the word, because talking to many of the people coming back on the boat, they couldn't understand the tactics of the Italian team, and particularly Bartoli last Sunday, who tried to go off on several occasions, all abortive attempts, and used a lot of energy in the process. So perhaps now he's riding with his head as much as his legs, and prepared to drive along with this particular group there. 114 on the screen, that's Kodal for the Lamprey team. Got that 2nd place in Spooky in that big sprint last Sunday, so they've got some success to end the season up. That's the teammate there of Rebellin, number 122, Stangelli, just coming off the front, and the 2 riders in the lightish white come grey tops here. Fassa Bortolo, what a season they've had, coming into the scratch team from day one. When I say scratch, so often teams, when they come in for the first time, despite how carefully the team manager may try and build up the squad, they don't always gel together from day one. And so they've done extremely well in Fassa Bortolo, and they're 81 at the back belly, hoping to go out with a cracking ride at the end of it. And that little short, sharp climb, about 6-7 kilometres to finish, may suit people like Belli or Rebellin, and may not suit Bartoli. It's not that bad. I think Bartoli can go with it, but that, of course, depends on whether they're going to stay away or whether they're going to get caught on the running from here. Quick few words here from Mappé, who've been strengthening their team into next year too. What a year we're going to have as well. Because Mappé is splitting to a small extent, some of their riders going off to join this new Duomo Farm Fritz team, and then Lefebvre will be the number 1 team manager there. I understand also that Arnaud Redant will stay with the new team as well. But Johan Capio was busy walking around the World Championship last week looking for an opportunity to get a job as a deputy team manager or what have you, because he looks like he's out of a job. So many things happening in cycling. The question on everybody's lips, will this group stay away or will they get caught by the main pack? Well, there we are. That's our group. You can see on the screen, splintering somewhat now, and in fact there's also a fragmented group coming up as well. So this, the last round of the World Cup, being fought out without the man wearing the leader's jersey, because Zabel has now climbed off his bike after 25 kilometres, leaving the door open for Chamil. Now Chamil is always what I call a late starter. We look at the way Chamil rides. Look at his ride in the World Championship last weekend. We didn't see much of him until we got up into that final lap, and then off he took a couple of times, didn't quite make it. Can you remember also when he got that Tour of Flanders victory and he went away in the final 9 kilometres, just was unstoppable. The time when he went off and got the Paris-Roubaix, again about 60 kilometres he took off and was unstoppable. That's tactics. I mean, on the Milan-San Remo, when he grabbed that one, he took off only in like the last 500-600 metres, but he was unstoppable there too. He's very good at hiding in the bunch, Chamil, and suddenly coming up and having a go at that one. But he does ride for Lotto, which is a Belgian-sponsored team, and he has now got Belgian nationality, and this has been very much an Italian benefit over the years, although they are still wondering how they can dominate it like they've done in the past, because a lot of people in with something to race for. So it's getting down now. We're getting very close to 40 kilometres to go. The last time check we had was just over 1 minute, and we should be racing then for probably about another hour or thereabouts on the run in towards Bergamo to the finish. And if you just joined our programme, I'm David Duffield. Thanks for your company on this last road race of the season. Let me put you in the picture and double up here because we're on a bit early, so it might be that people just rushed back in, switched on the box and found it been going full flight. So bear with me if you sat round the table or sat round the fireplace, because I suppose it's a bit chilly back at home, watching what's been going on. If I just repeat the action that we've had so far. First then, Zabel retired after 25 kilometres, leaving the door open to Chamil. Because coming into the race today, Eric Zabel, wearing the jersey as the overall leader on the World Cup, had 347 points. He started off in fine style by winning the Milan-San Remo. He'd won the Amstel Gold as well, and only on 2 occasions, at Les Baston-Liège and San Sebastian, did he not score any points. Although been consistently all the way through, even though he only got 2 points in the Championship of Zurich, for instance, but he was leading as at this morning with 347 points. In second spot was Andre Chamil, who won the Tour of Flanders. I just mentioned to you before how he steamed off towards the end and got that victory. He had 276 points. There's 100 points for the winner of the final round today, which if he gets that one will give him 376 points. In second place there's only 70 points. So if Chamil is in second spot, he will only earn 70 points, which give him 346 against Zabel's 347. So Chamil has to win this one if he's going to get the World Cup victory again. But determined piece of work here on your screen is our breakaway group, and that breakaway group now you can see here 88, that's Rumsas for Fassa Bortolo. Just behind him then is the rider Axelsen for the Panaria team. There, that's Casagrande in the light blue and purpley colours. There for Rabobank is Beitzeberg. The other rider from Fassa Bortolo, there's Rumsas and Belli in there. Belli wears number 81. Codal Lampre, if you can pick him up in the pink and blue, is in there too as well. Bartoli, the national champion of Italy, you can just see him bottom part of your screen there in the green, the white and the red colours. He's in that breakaway group together with Casagrande. We picked him up too. So Belli, Rumsas, Codal, Rebellin, Stangley, both those team riders there from the liquid gas spot in the sort of blackish coloured jerseys. Bartoli, Axelsen, Beitzeberg and Casagrande. That's our breakaway group. Last time check we had, it was over 1 minute. We've got about 40 kilometres to go towards the finish. I'm waiting for more information coming out of my headphones. In that final 40 kilometres of your run-in, they've got this climb which they're about to take on board now, up toward the top of the little climb of Benno. It's not too bad, but at this stage of the race, with still when they go to the top, it's something like 28 kilometres to go to the finish. It could split this lot or allow somebody to come across from the main pack. Chamil, for instance, who might be choosing to try and launch himself an attempt to catch up with this group up in front. But the Italians looking for an opportunity, I think, to hold the lid on this great classic race, which dates back to the way back in 1905 when the Italian rider Gerbi got it first time round. So looking down this lot, we've got a Swede in there at the moment. There he is on your screen now. Rumsas, also from, I think, Lithuania. But the rest of them, and Beitzeberg from Switzerland, so the rest of them, except for three. Oh, no, Stangley comes from Slovenia, so we've got, and there he goes, off goes the Swedish rider, as I mentioned it to you. So the heavily policed squad from Italy will try and make sure that nobody other than Italian wins this one today. I'm sure of that. The Italians like to win for a local victory, but of course he's sponsored by Panaria, which is an Italian company. That's the orange jersey, gone off down the road now in the front. How's he going? Well, that's a good effort on his part, but it's a long old way into the finish yet. And he's just running alongside the river, and then he's going to curl round and then take in that final run into the finish with that little bit of a flip which will catch him out. Not far off that climb, by the way, just running alongside the river at the moment. He's still out there. It's the Fiume Serio, if you want to know on your map where we are. You see Bergamo, pick it up in the north of Italy. Off to the right, there's the big lake of the Iseo. So what we've done now on the course is we've come very close to Bergamo, a bit south of it actually, and run round, heading out to a place called Trestore, and then running round in a big sort of anti-clockwise direction, heading in towards Brembilla, which is the last climb of the day, and then head back down into the southeast into Bergamo. So you do a little flick round there, you'll be able to pick up where we're actually coming through. It's running back in through the regional park of Dei Colli. You might get that on your map as well. Haven't quite got there yet a while. Just round about the Valle Rossa up on the right-hand side at the moment before we head off back in towards the finish. And that's the sort of route they're on now, having started way off the left-hand side. You go right the way across the match, you'll find out where the start was this morning at Varese. 258 kilometres, that's 161 miles. And that's the man trying to get away at the moment for the Panaria team, Axelsen. A long, lanky chap he is too. And the rest don't seem to want to chase at the moment. Well, we get information that the chasers have split quite a bit, starting out this morning with 166 riders and 23 teams. I think one or two tired legs in there, and they've been climbing off. So the chase is quite splintered, which might play into the hands of this 9-man breakaway group. Or sorry, 8-1 now, because he's popped off down the road. And there he is, long, lanky chap. Started riding for Palman's team some years ago. They went to Scrigno again, then Navigate again, and they've always had this sort of orangey colours with the blue. It's now got another sponsor on board them at the moment. You can see the orange jersey, Panaria.
Cominciamo tra 4 minuti. Attenzione, nuova situazione. Allora dicevo, Axelson da solo aveva già 15 secondi a controllo precedente. Ora è anche
I'll still get overhead from the background, can just pick it up. There's still a lot of activity going on in the group behind. They've let this fella go. Up until this show, he hadn't scored any victories. He'd been around since 1997. On the road, that is. He's a good, strong man indeed, but that's surprising a few people. They're all watching each other and hoping he'll blow up, and that'll be that. Oh, they've let him go now. So they're saying about 10 seconds at the moment. It looks more than 10. Here comes the chase group now, what's left of the main group. So they're cutting it back now at the moment. It's about 2 minutes and 50 seconds back to the group. I think that's the time back from Axelson, 2 minutes 50 seconds. And looking down there for the Lotto colours, the black and red colours, see where Chamil's got to, but 2:50 back at the moment with about just inside 40 kilometres to go to the finish. Well, our breakaway rider Axelson revelling in his opportunity to try and get this important end of season classic, and what was the original 9-man group now down to 8 seems to have let him go. Bartoli's having other ideas, and he's going on the front there, being marked out by the Fassa Bortolo riders, and Casagrande is also just sitting there back, third back from the front. Here he is on his own now. Well, last time check we had, he was 12 seconds up on that remnants of the 8-man group, and 2:50 or thereabouts back to the main group, and now he's starting on this climb. This is the one that takes them up then. Nasty little climb it is too. Well, he's got 32 kilometres to go now towards the finish, and well-timed move to go up through Laxalo. He's just eased himself out now, so now can he hang on to it? Well, when he gets over the top of this one, he'll only have about 28 kilometres to go to the finish. This is the climb up Beno, and when he gets over this one, it could be a good run down for him. It's well, the top of it is only 665 metres above sea level. He's starting around about 425, so it's an actual climb at 240 metres, and that's about 6 100 feet, 600-700 feet. It's 5 kilometres long, so you've got a fair old drag to the top of this one. The average is about 4.8% and the worst is 6%. So once he gets over this one, we're running back down in towards the finish, and he's hoping he can just stay out there. And if he gets this one, it's going to be the first ever Swedish victory. They haven't had a victory in the past. Those nations have won once in the past. Luxembourg, Great Britain and Russia. In fact, Great Britain was Tom Simpson who got that one. Ireland had 3 victories. Of course, all those were Sean Kelly's victories. But the Italians dominated the race over the years with 59 victories coming to this year's race. So France got 11, Belgium 10, most of those were Eddie Merckx, by the way. And so Holland with 3, Swiss with 4, Ireland with 3. So it really has been Italian benefit, and it may turn out to be that way yet again, because there's enough Italians in this chase group, I think, just to try and pull Mr. Axelsen back again. Celestino, the Italian, won last year, but that was sort of ending a drought of a couple of years when Andrea Taffi also started today, won in 1996, Farrazin in 1995, and before that they had a bit of a gap because Bobrick was 94, Richard before that, then Romigan, then Kelly, then Dillon, Romu, Motte, and Argentin in 1987 was the man who sort of split that lot up. So the Italians been losing their stranglehold on the race, but there's enough in that chase group here, I think, if they catch Axelsen back, to get another Italian victory. Danilo De Luca started today. He hasn't made it up into this breakaway group. He entertained us last weekend in the World Championships. He was second last year, and I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a purge in that back group to try and pull back this leading group here, and someone like De Luca, if he's got any left in his legs, will be looking for a chance to get up there and grab the victory. Jalabert, who won in 1997, I'll repeat what I said earlier in the programme in case you switched on late, because we were a bit earlier starting our coverage of the Tour of Lombardy because the tennis finished quite early. Normally tennis overruns us, or we overrun them. But it looks like we're going to finish quite quickly today, so we should be okay for the next tennis programme coming up without too many problems. But if you have come in expecting to start just about 20 minutes ago, then we've been up on air now for about 25 minutes watching this group here on your screen, and they went away, and they've got, when we came on, they only had about a 36 second lead, and that was about 60 kilometers to go. So still about 30 kilometers to go to the finish. Just this climb, this 5 kilometer climb now, and they're still fairly compact. On the front then looks like Rebellin's teammate, I think it's Stangelli, doing the work at the front then, and just behind him, marking him, yes, he's been sent up there to do the work then, has Stangelli. There at the back is Bartoli in the green, white and red. Beitzenberg just sitting in the wheels at the moment, hasn't contributed much. I think he's letting the Italians get on with it. So at the bottom is Beitzenberg, in front Bartoli, then in the pink and the blue is Coddle from Lamprey, and way up the road here is Axelsen. He really has gone. And that's going to be a turn up for the books if he gets this one. He's being urged on by the Tifosi here because they're happy that he rides for an Italian team, although they'd rather have an Italian for an Italian team than a rider from Sweden up there in front. But they're very pleased. And there's Belli's name on the road. You can see that there. Well, he's in that chase group, which probably now waiting for the confirmation of the time back. But I think he's probably get about a 30-second lead on the main group. The last time check we had, he was over 2 minutes up on what's left of the main group. One thing about this course, coming out from the start, Varese heading in a due easterly direction, we went south of Bergamo and then this loop round, and a lot of riders have just turned their wheels in towards Bergamo and said, that's it, I've had enough, and they're not completing this big loop round here. So the field has been very much thinned down by those riders who've had enough or just missed the break or whatever the case might be, decide it's time to knock the season on the head, leaving these star riders on your screen here. And they're dropping back a bit. Looks like Bartolo's beginning to struggle under pressure. And Stangelli at the front. The two Fassa Bartolo team riders are here together. Rumsas and Belli. Casagrande down there, just hovering in the wheels. There's a gap back. Well, that's danger ground then for Bartoli. Or is Bartoli just playing the game which says, you know, I pretend I'm shot, but I'm not? So that's Casagrande on Rebellin's wheel, just following on behind Rumsas and Belli. Axelsen on his own up in front. They're coming back. Just looking to see who's the strongest rider in this little group at the moment. Rumsas is ripping the thing to pieces. Rebellin Casagrande. And here comes Batesberg. I think he's just stayed with Bartoli. Now he's trying to go away. And this is Axelsen up in front. Big, tall, lanky Swede. Making a play. Well, there's Kodal's name on the side of the road, so he's got some support. He's in the breakaway group. Well, he was. He just got shelled out a little bit, riding for the Lamprey team in the pink and the blue. He hasn't quite made it. Yeah, so Batesberg has got across. So I keep referring back, by the way, to the World Championship, but that really was a bit of a turn up for the books, wasn't it? On the way back on the ferry from St Malo to Portsmouth, it's all about gathering the clans. Bob Maitland was there, Johnny Perks, a whole gaggle of people I've known over the years on the boats. Forgive me if I don't mention your name, but I will say hello to the boys from Newcastle who were out on that particular occasion, and they're now watching the Tour of Lombardy. Colin, who says bye to, so there must be Collins, it says it. There's Mike and Keith, and so Colin Davidson, he was next Milk Race yellow jersey, and yes, I remember that, Colin, some years ago when I was working on the tour. And also to John Wilcoxon, who's the editor of the Velo magazine in America, comes out every other week. A very good magazine, worth contributing to, by the way. Quite a lot of coverage of mainly American racing, but does pick up all the classics, and also does quite a lot of coverage of women's racing too, which we don't often get in any depth in the British magazines. But so John Wilcoxon, I understand his sister Helen, is it Heather or Helen? Heather lives in Bewdley, and John's mother, 91, he was going to see her before he went back off to the States. John Wilcoxon used to write for the Times. He was very much involved in cycling reportage over the years. Now the editor of the Velo magazine, which comes out every other week in America. Well worth contributing to, I can assure you that one. So all the people we met, thanks for a pleasant trip back and swapping old times and old views and goodness knows what else. And of course, big subject of conversation was the banning of Gustav because of his illegal bicycle. And of course, more anon when the UCI are going to bring in new regulation about the wheels you can and can't use in cycle racing as from the year 2002. Much will be revealed as time goes by. Right, back to the racing with Axelsen down the road. That on the front is Rebellin, being followed by Casagrande. Then Rumsas and Belli, both for Fassa Bortolo in the whitish come grey colours, and the dark blue pants, or semi-dark blue pants, are in this group together with Batesberg, Westerberg and the orange and white. So they've managed to get rid of Bartoli, who was in this group to begin with. Down the road is Axelsen. And they're over the top of that climb now, so this is a good run down in toward the finish now. Not particularly flat all the way, a little flick towards the back end, which might just about test the legs, but a determined attempt by the Swedish rider Panarina to stay away from this active group, the remnants of our original 9-man breakaway. Well, Bartoli, who got dropped on that climb, looks like he's come back with a vengeance now, and they're over the top. We've got about some less than that, probably about 26 kilometres to go toward the finish. This big drop down, there's about 5 kilometres down. It levels up, we get a little blip in toward the finish. So Bartoli now burying himself. He went through a bad patch running up on the top of that climb, and the climb was the one of Bebeno. And that was the climb which they had covered 230 kilometres of this 258 kilometre run. The next climb at Bocula is with just some 5 kilometres to go from the finish when they get over the top. But it's only a little blip. It's not a backbreaker by any means, but it could be a launching post for somebody who might be able to get away if, of course, they catch Axelsen back. He's off down the road at the moment, causing quite a few problems in the camp. Let's see if here he is. We've got him on the screen now. He supplied a lot of people last year in the Tour of Italy when he finished 6th overall, just by consistent riding day in, day out. So, although he hasn't won anything of any significance up until this year, he had that 6th in the Tour of Italy under his belt. So, he's quite a strong all-round rider, and they can't just disregard him now. The last time check, we had it about 43 seconds. It was his lead. So I expect all the people in up there in Sweden are getting very happy with him. He was only turned pro, a couple of years ago, so he's quite a new lad on the block, and this could be one of his best rides. He's way ahead this year, like 4th in the National Championship a couple of years ago. What I call it, one of those competent all-rounders that comes up and rides and gets enough publicity for his sponsor, because he doesn't ride for a big hit team at all, not like Mappa you see here on your screen with Bartoli out here. They've got so many riders in there that can work for him, though we haven't seen the usual combination of him and Bettini, because if you didn't hear the early part of our programme, the press rumours are that they had a bit of a falling out after the World Championships. They've been lifelong mates, but there seemed to be some doubt about the tactics of the Italians and Bartoli's exuberance, I think is the word, which caused them to look back and say, we should have done this, we should have done that, but we didn't get the medals, did we? Anyway, he's getting back now on his bike, trying to catch up. That looked like Graham Watson with his camera taking pictures of them sweeping around the bend here to fill the pages of the cycling press. In fact, Luke Evans of Cycle Sport was saying to me, there used to be a gap coming towards the back end of the year, but they've got so much going on now that they're going right to Christmas with plenty of racing. You can see here 32 seconds back to this chase group here, because we do have coming up next week the World Track Championships in Manchester. And by the way, the Comic have said that the BBC, yes, I mentioned the terrestrial station, are covering the cycling at Manchester on Saturday and Sunday. No list of when it's actually going to be on, so I look forward to being there alongside Hugh Porter, and I'll be doing the chat for them. But he didn't mention Eurosport, so have a look, because we are going to be covering the World Championship next week. Just about, not everything, but the majority of it will be live on Eurosport, plus some highlight programs as well. So again, if you're away from home, working, and you can't see it on your television, then record it, check in your papers, you'll see it in your weekly newspapers each day when it's on, and also the special coverage which you get in the special TV magazines. You'll be able to pick it up from there and be able to set your recorders if you can't see it at home. One thing is also worthwhile doing, by the way, is there will be some evening racing. I haven't got the schedule in front of me now. It's been a bit like pack your bags, get some clean pair of underpants and socks and go off you go again. Because I looked at my diary when I got back to Britain after the Worlds. I'd been away for 7.5 weeks and had exactly 48 hours at home in 7.5 weeks of working away. So if something I haven't caught up with, then please forgive me. But nevertheless, looking at the quick look at the schedules, I'm sure we're going to be on air some evenings as well. And what I suggest to viewers back in Britain, if you are able to chat to your friendly local hostelry and get some of your teammates around, because quite a lot of pubs now have Eurosport, although they often show other channels. If I work with the landlord, you might find that he can switch on to Eurosport for you and maybe have one of the back rooms or something and invite round some of the club mates and watch it there. You know, buy a few sandwiches and a few large shandies, and you'd be quite happy. And perhaps what you'll also find is that many of the people in the pub might also come and join you, particularly as we look like we could get against the medal. So I want to make a party of it, get some friends together, and or if you're feeling generous at home, phone up your rest of your club mates, say, come on round, bring a few 6-packs or your tea bags, and we'll have a little bit of a party at home and watch what's going on. I mean, if you don't like me, you can always turn the sound down, but nevertheless you'll be able to see it on Eurosport pretty well every day. And of course, those who maybe want to operate from home and invite round your club mates, record what's happened during the day, and you can show the bits of what's already been recorded. Have a very good end to the season, because we should be in there with some medals. I won't say how many or what we're going to get, but we should be in with some medals. And I'm still interested in the outcome of the problems that Rob Hales and Bradley Wiggins have in not being allowed, the last thing I heard, to ride the Madison. My good friend at BCF will no doubt tell me all the ins and outs of that, rather guaranteeing medals in the team pursuit than a chance in the Madison, but that will be a disappointment for us. But let's hope in the end they might be able to ride in that event, because they rode so well in Sydney in the Olympics. Forgive me if I'm doubling up what I said earlier in the programme, but I do know that we started a bit earlier today, as tennis finished within 2 straight sets rather than running over into the third one. You're watching the Tour of Lombardy, the 94th version from Ferrari to Bergamo. They're over the top of that climb of the Barbeno. That was after 230 kilometres of racing. One man who's dropped out so far is Eric Zabel. Chamil has to win the race to take the lead in the World Cup, this being the last round. So Chamil has to come up to that chase group, and up to this man here. It looks like a long shot at the moment. So perhaps he just said, well, that's it. I'll just sit back in the pack and let him get on with it. He's a battler, though, Chamil. You never know if the rest of the riders can go. Well, there's 21 kilometres left to go in the race, so he's got to do something about this race of the falling leaves, they call it, or in our case, the absence of the stars. With Armstrong's not riding, Heras, Ulrich, Jalabert, Gartzelli, Clerden, Decker, Alano, Van Petegem out the top 20, not riding today. But a lot of talent still in there, searching for victory today. And who would have thought that Axelsen would be the one to grab the race by the scruff of the neck coming into those last 20 kilometres of racing. There are 40 seconds is the gap. He's got a bit of a blip to come later on, but it seems to be working in his favour at the moment. A lot of motorcycles being whipped through, which, although it said 40 seconds there, I'll try and hear on my headphones. It could be coming down because the commissaires don't like lots of people jammed in between the breakaway group and that rider there. By the way, I was saying that you can watch our World Championship coverage, and those up in Sweden will be watching it now. In fact, I had a nice little letter with another beautiful cat picture here, but I get loads of cat pictures from Rachel Kulstad in Norway. She can't hear the English commentary anymore, so she sent me a nice little sort of farewell letter here because her local cable operator has switched over to the Norwegian version. So I do know from time to time the English version comes and goes, but wherever you're listening, wherever you are, I hope you enjoyed our coverage of cycling throughout this season. We've got the World Track coming up next week, and we're also going to do the one day of the Grand Prix de Nation as well. It's not Grand Prix, it's the Open de Nation in November. So that will be more cycling coming up next week. As I say, the track from Manchester, and then the Open de Nation, we'll be covering that one as well in November. That's going to be November the 19th. That'll be our last one, unless we start picking up some of the cyclo-cross. So thanks for your support throughout the year, and the nice letters and those not so nice ones. We had to put up with the good, the bad and indifferent on the racing, which has been very fascinating all the way through. Well, there's some sad news if you haven't caught up with it in your newspapers. Maspes, the great Italian sprinter, died a couple of days ago. He was 7 times world track champion between 1955 and 1964, and 11 times national track champion, and used to race against the great Reg Harris. So a bit of a shame that he has passed away just so soon to the track championship in Manchester, but nevertheless he was a great battling man. I remember watching him some years gone by, but Maspes is now no longer with us. Just a bit of news you might want to know. By the way, Sean Kelly is still soldiering on in his Cross America ride for charity. You can pick it up on his website, the Sean Kelly website. I understand the first few days it was like 100 degrees in the shade. There wasn't much shade, and then the temperatures dropped to just above freezing, so they're having a really desperate time. About 25 riders doing about 120 miles a day with Sean, all in the aid of charity. And we wish Sean the best of luck, who's won this race no less than 3 times. In fact, Sean was just showed you what a battler he was. In 1986, he was first in the Milan-San Remo, which opens the season up, and it was second in the Tour of Lombardy. Other riders which have topped and tailed the season, yes, the great Eddie Merckx in 1971 and 72. He won the Milan-San Remo and the Tour of Lombardy, both those 2 years as well. And in fact, when Tom Simpson won the Tour of Lombardy in 1965, he had the previous year, in 1964, won the Milan-San Remo. So there are some riders who are capable of riding throughout the whole of the season and doing well in both of them. And of course, Chamil, having been up there, having won the Milan-San Remo in the past, he would be nice if he could have topped and tailed it by winning this one today. But he's marooned. We certainly heard no news of him about being in the chase group, but certainly this is our group chasing down Axelsen, hovering just around at 40 seconds ahead of this group. And the one time check I got was it was over 2 minutes back to what's left of the main field. We'll try and pick that up on the headphones for you. Stay with us on Eurosport. We're going to take a short break, and let's go and see what's happened at the end of this race. Anybody going to get this one? You've got to have a bet, not me. Well, this is a man then who is really causing a few problems back in the chase group, because he's holding that lead about 40 seconds. It's Axelsen from the Panair team. Not on the lips of anybody suggesting he might win the race today. This the final event of the World Cup, the 10th round, the Tour of Lombardy. Looking down the list of riders that were tipped as likely contenders for the crown today, Bartoli and Casagrande both been tipped as possible winners, and Simoni up there too as well. But then Taffi, Bettini, De Luca, Rebellin and Nardello tipped as next possible ones, and then behind that Bogart, Celestino, Barbaro and Faragin. Nobody ever thought of Axelsen. In fact, he was right down in what we call the one star. This is the man who was put in against what I might consider the also rounds, but a few people like Stangeli, who happens to be in the chase group at the moment, and Axelsen was one of those, well, he might do well. Sounds like my old school report, could do better, but he's doing very well indeed now, sweeping down in towards the finish. He's coming over this great big wide river. You can see it on the screen now. This is the Brembo River, much swollen by the rain that's fallen out of the sky, well, where else it come from, and the troubles they've had. And there you can see the chase group there on your screen. Belli and Rumsas are both riding for the same team. Look at their 121, 141. That just shows they are the leaders of the respective squads, and they really are stamping on the gas now. But Axelsen is off down the road, and we're getting in towards the back end of this race. We're coming in, and the route from here does have this little blip at Boccola after 253 kilometres, so he's got to go up that little rise before he thinks he's actually made it. So he's out there. Nobody tipped the world champion to do well today. He was just going to make a ceremonial start and then call it a day, and he may just be still riding back in there. We haven't got a complete rundown on what's left to chase. They've been concentrating on what you see on the screen here. By the way, I did mention in one of our programmes earlier on, I think it was when Weinstein was third in the Tour of Flanders this year, that in fact he's although we call him about it being a Latvian, he is in fact a Jewish extra, or still I suppose be called a Jewish grandfather. Changed the name from Weinstein to Weinstein, took the W off and changed the E and the I at the back of it, because in Latvia at that particular time he was concerned that his family might have been whipped off to Siberia because there was a big purge going on in Latvia, so he changed the name. And I said it was the first time a Latvian had ever won the World Professional Championship after all those years, what's in 1927, but I suspect also it's the first Jewish rider to win the World Championship as well. And I had a letter from Adrian Wolf, by the way, in Israel, and Adrian, if I in my commentary in Spain upset you with what I said about the Jews leaving in Cordoba, I had to go very quickly from things to things, and I couldn't actually go through all the historic background as to why they moved out there, which you say it was they've been there for 1,000 years and contributed to the well-being and success of Spain, and King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella completed the conquest of Spain in 1492. They decreed that all citizens had to be Catholic, resulting in the entire Jewish population be either killed or forcibly converted, while some fortunate ones managed to flee penniless. I couldn't get all that out, actually. Yes, I was aware of that, so if I was being disrespectful by saying they left, then it wasn't being any way trying to distort the truth. Yes, why I do these things, Adrian Wolf, and to many other people listening to commentary, is that one thing we can do on the big tours, not so much on the single stage races, is that we can see history as the race goes through a certain place. If I can pick out something that's happened in years gone by, because what we call ethnic cleansing, one perhaps accepts that certain nations seem to be solid as they are now, like they've been forever. It's not true. If you look back at the history of what we now know as Britain, when the old kingdoms were there, and although it wasn't about ethnic cleansing, there was a great falling out amongst the various kingdoms, even in our British history too. And of course, we pushed the Celts out into Wales, and the Picts up into Scotland, and so the ethnic cleansing which has gone on for various reasons, mainly religion, and I'm not getting involved in religious arguments, but certainly religion's had a great lot to do in the tumultuous way in which nations have been formed and reformed over the years. So if I do short circuit some of the reasons why nations have changed boundaries, why people have left and so on, Adrian, it's not for being disrespectful. It's sometimes, even when I start down a particular direction, the camera's changed or something happens and I go off at a tangent and can't complete what I'm talking about. So please bear with me, Adrian, on that, but thanks for sending me the full story. Yes, I had got it, but I just didn't get round to it. But anyway, that's that, and I hope you'll join us all next year for the road racing right the way through. We start in January again with the big tours, and thanks also to Paul Heaton of the Beautiful South about his notes in New Music Express last week. And I didn't know his new group called the Beautiful South, but he mentioned a fellow called Peter Tinniswood, who was a journalist and writer, and wrote a book, and he went on about House Martins. And I do remember the group called House Martin. In fact, I was reading this, Paul, when looking out of my window, I could see the wall opposite our house where they also have House Martins during the summer. Getting so close for Axelsson now, coming in toward the finish. What a turn up for the books if the Swedish rider gets the victory. He's hovering around about 40 seconds lead. He went away just before we started that climb of the Babeno, so he took off about 30 kilometres to go from the finish, leaving this original breakaway group that at one time totaled 9 men. He's left them now. Bartoli on the back here had a bit of a rough time going over that climb of the Babeno. He's got himself back into the group here. And so far there hasn't done a lot of work to pull them back. They're leaving most of it to the two riders from Fassa Bortolo, Belli and Rumsas, to do the work. In particular, Rumsas is driving the thing hard and still hovering around about 42 seconds. Axelsson from this group on your screen now. There they are. In black going to the front, that's the rider from Liquigas, Rebellin. Moving through next with the bluish coloured pants, Casagrande. Then that's Rumsas, and then also in there then Baetzeberg in the orange and white, not doing too much work, nor Bartoli. What a turn up for the books if he gets this one. We've seen so many different things happening this season, riders popping up and scoring success that we didn't expect to see happen, and I'd got somewhere amongst this massive pile of paper the rundown on the World Championships and the medals that were won, and it's quite interesting to see the number of riders from behind what we used to call the Iron Curtain that managed to get amongst the medals this time. It's great to see the old orders changing quite a bit, and here we might yet see a victory for the first time by a Swede. Determination written all over him then. That great 6th place overall that he got in the Tour of Italy was very much done through his determination to go with the moves and use his head as well as his legs. Still at 40 seconds. Well, that's catchable. There they are. Just 6 at the moment in that little group. So they've lost Stangelli, the teammate of Rebellin. He's gone out the back. And Kodal also has gone out the back. So Rumsas is doing so much of the work now. Rebellin at the back. That's Berg on the right-hand side, and quick word with Casagrande. Well, poor Rumsas, he's being asked to do all the work here, but they're burying him on the front, and their belly is off now. Yeah, I think they're going to start trying to break this thing up a bit, and that's the ideal way to do it then. If Rumsas shuts the door a bit, then off goes Belli, and they have to chase him down because that's a danger man. Bartoli after him. Well, he's been past winner of the World Cup, Bartoli. He's not going to win the World Cup this time, but certainly as long as this lot stay away, Eric Szabo will be the winner of the World Cup this year. Considering that Eric won the Milan-San Remo at the start of the season, he was sitting there with bated breath, but with Chamil out of contention at the moment, he looks like he can get that. Bartoli behind Casagrande. Casagrande, his best performance in the World Cup so far, second in the Hugh Classic was Casagrande. He's previously won the San Sebastian Classic, which has also been one of the events in the World Cup last year. But he got a 3rd place in the Championship of Zurich behind Jufo and Ulrich. Got a 2nd spot in Hugh Classic, did Casagrande, looking to try and go one better now, but they've got to pull Axelsson back. Yeah, he's looking back over his shoulder, and another attack coming. This is the way the old 1-2 as far as the Fassa Bartolo team are concerned. They are breaking up. Now this is dangerous then for Axelsen at the front, because they're accelerating very quickly indeed, and providing they don't ease back too much, that gap will be coming down as Rebellin now starts to go. And this is the man they're chasing down. Rebellin's so much been one of the white hopes of Italian cycling. He seems to have changed teams as often as some people change their underpants, and doesn't seem to have some consistency about him, but he's still a class rider and trying to get this one now. But there they go. Casagrande, well, is he going to top Bartoli? The trouble, if he takes Bartoli up there, he's got to drop him, because Bartoli of this little lot has probably got the swiftest finish. Well, I shouldn't dismiss Zeberg, I suppose, but he seems to be getting shot off the back as soon as the speed goes up. Either that or he's just riding within himself, and it's come down. You see what I said? The incessant chasing here, the speed at which they're going. Look, Bartoli goes through. He goes down the gutter, but is he coming through it there once he's done his little patch there? He sets in second spot, and you can pick his number up as well as I can down there. Got the blue pants with the sort of motley colours on from Mappe. They seem to be, I'll say, confident. They seem to come to the conclusion that even if they do start jumping around like this, they can catch back Axelsen, and are more concerned now than about ripping each other to pieces. Well, there's a little bit of a drag here then, because there are 5 kilometres to go. This is what I mentioned about. There's a little bit of drag here to try and sort them out. It won't be too bad, but if they've got tired legs, they've got to find themselves trouble just a bit. Yes, it's come down to 34 seconds. Well, Axelsen, if he can just get over this one, Axelsen, I think, might surprise a few people. And the man who was 6th in last year's Tour of Italy might get the victory today. Well, climbing up this little drag here, they're inside 5 kilometres to go, and Axelsen still down the road, something like about just about 40 seconds is his lead, and the chasers are splitting now. This is what left of a group which is originally 9 men who went away just over an hour ago, and here he goes, dragging up across the cobbles. He's really bone-shattering stuff, this one, and so the drag then in toward the finish. He should be able to get round this one and hang on grim. That there, the gap behind shows 2 riders chasing. That original group then split somewhat. Belli and Rumsas are still in there from Fassa Bartolo as he gobbles up these cobbles. This is really battering stuff. We've been racing now since the race start this morning at 10 past 10 Central European time. That's 10 past 9 British time, it's British Eurosport time. So we're looking at just over 6 hours of racing. Remember last weekend, most of them raced over 6 hours in the World Championship Tour. It's a hard old way to make a living, and this man is determined now to stamp his authority on this race as he went away with about 30 kilometres to go on that drag up towards Berbeno, and now the chasers have really got their work to do to try and pull him back. Burying himself round here, Axelsen, if he makes it, Sweden will go absolute bananas, because they haven't had a victory in this Milan-San Remo. Looking back over the list here, can't see a Swiss victory at all. They might be settling for a second spot. And he's still got just that little lead. It's coming out at 30 seconds. He's burying himself here. The Tour of Lombardy dating back to 1905. I'm just looking down all the list here. Loads of Italians, certainly none for Switzerland. This race won no less than 5 times by Fausto Coppi, who won it 4 times on the trot, then 5th again. He's the record holder then. This looks like another record then, the first one for a rider from Sweden, but can he do it? The chasers splitting then. Rebellion in the black short, left-hand side. Now Bartoli takes over. Batesberg comes up in the orange and white. They've left it very late indeed. The Italian champion looked a bit stuffed on the last but one climb. And now Casagrande's gone away. It looks like with Belli. Or was it Rumsas? It might have been Rumsas going after Axelsen now. But Belli seems to be going a bit slower. Seberg at the back. Desperate moves by these riders at the back. They've just got to pull everything out the bag now to try and get through here. Inside that final kilometre there, Axelsson will be really looking for that victory, which will certainly make him a hero in Sweden. As Berg starts to come across. What a beautiful setting then for this race, the race to the falling leaves, the last one of the road race calendar for the World Cup. And behind Bartoli passed Victor in the World Cup. Now looks like he's got nothing left. It's down the other side, curling back in then towards the finish, and it's a good little run down from here. Well, those old-fashioned ramparts where the battles have raged over the years, and now it looks like Axelsson has won this battle. He just keeps his legs going down here. This is going to be a famous victory indeed, joining those singletons that have won it in the past over the years. Andre Chamil now looks like he's not going to get the victory and take that World Cup. Over the years, the oddball winners, Bobrik won for Russia in 1994. That was a singleton victory. Britain had Tommy Simpson win this in 1965. So it looks like the Swedish rider is going to join this select band of riders that have won this race. Rumsas and Casagrande now trying to close the gap down. Well, I think he's got it now, because the way in which Casagrande went round there is not the world's greatest descender, and Rumsas I think will probably wait. He's probably got a quicker sprint than Casagrande, and he's just, I think, hanging in his slipstream here, and will probably power past Casagrande shortly. Casagrande is the sort of rider that will just ride hard on the front. Right, nobody here to cheer him on. He went up that climb with the mass of the spectators just shouting at him to go, 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 because here he comes with 1 kilometre to go, and that looks like he's cracked it now. Nicholas Axelsson then for Panair Gaën. Well, Panair Gaën is one of those small teams that have been in the sport for a long time. In fact, Gaën, which is their co-sponsor, they've been supporting teams and looking now at the chase coming with Casagrande. Are they going to pull back what could be an outrageous victory then? Because Gaën, who are the shoe manufacturer, they're coming at him now. Look, they might in fact catch him. They might catch him then, so this little team might not get it. It might suddenly find that they've got the big guns coming at him as Casagrande is riding himself in the ground in Rumsas. He's not come up his will. Axelsson is just inside the final 500 metres, just down the road. Can he stay away? Axelsson has been trying so hard. He went off down the road and some 25, 27 kilometres ago, and looks like he's going to be caught coming into the finish. He'll have nothing left in his legs. And who's going to come off his wheel for my money? Rumsas is going to be the fastest finisher, and Casagrande sweeps past him. Well, he didn't hold it on the descent. The gap suddenly came back as he died on the run-in. Well, Rumsas has not been aiding Casagrande. Has he got the speed to come off the wheel then as Casagrande starts to bet himself? And Rumsas it is who's going to go for this one. Rumsas comes round the outside. He sat on the wheels all the way round because Belli's teammate was with him originally. Rumsas grabs it. Disappointed Casagrande second. Axelsson into third spot. Look at that. Disappointment for the Swede. Within only, about 350 metres to go. He was caught then by Rumsas and Casagrande. Rumsas had done nothing to aid the chase because his teammate Belli, who I think is coming in now at the moment, was the man predicted or tipped to try and get the victory. He rode for him. There was nothing wrong in staying in the wheels then for Rumsas. That's what he had to do. And Casagrande rode so hard on that climb to pull back Axelsson. And now we've got another victory, a strange one here, because with Rumsas getting the victory then, that also again is going to, I think, set everybody searching back through the record books then, because Rumsas was staying in there looking out the interests of Belli, and then he swept past Casagrande. Rumsas then coming from Lithuania, and that is tremendous. Latvian won the World Championship over the weekend. Lithuanian now getting this very special Tour of Lombardy, the race of the falling leaves, and just came past to Casagrande. Not surprising at all. I thought that's what would happen. Rumsas first across the line, scoring the first victory in the Tour of Lombardy for Lithuania. And of course his new team, Fassa Bortolo, being put together, and they've had some success this year, and that's a great way to end the season. Well, our camera's picking up here, but what it didn't pick up was the look on the face of Axelsson, who suddenly found himself finishing third when it looked so clear that he was going to get first. And I thought he could just about make it, that tall, angular chap who timed his attack so well. That 40 seconds that he got, though, in those final 5 kilometres was not enough. Well, Rumsas been riding most of his career, by the way, until coming this year into Fassa Bortolo. But I look at Bergamo in the background here. That he was riding for the Moroz team. Kodal coming in here now, and he knocked up coming this season something like about 20 victories, but they've all been fairly small victories. He started his first victory in 97 by winning a stage in the Commonwealth Bank Classic down in Australia way back in 97. And the Moroz team is a Division 3, Division 2, bottom of the Division 2 team. And this is the moment, I suppose, when Royal Axel just wants to go away and sit in a dark corner, but it seems that we're not be able to pick up that sound then to see what's going on with the interview. That looks like the teammate Stangeli of Rebellin, who faded towards the end. And there's Rumsas coming forward. Those of you who follow the Pro Tour, might remember him winning the stage into Swansea in 1999. There was a nasty little climb coming to Swansea, a cobble one, not dissimilar to the one we had just down the road here. And he got that one too. Say the Commonwealth Bank Classic, he's won at least 3 stages in that one over the years. So as the rest of the field gallop on in here now. Looking, so I think Jamil is still in there, so Jamil will just reinforce his second position in the World Cup, but he had to win this one to take over the World Cup, and it was not to be. So then, for the Lithuanian rider, just some 28 years of age now, got still a good future ahead of him with that very well-organised Fassa Bortolo team. There's no doubt about it. They come on to this season now and sign up some jolly useful up-and-coming riders to match with a lot more experienced riders too. And so they have now got a really good result at the back end of the year. They were collecting rewards all along the season so far, but certainly. Well, in fact, I just heard them mention Weinstein in there. We'll have a little look, see if they went in. I'll try and spot him, because Weinstein's comes from this part of the world and said he wanted to ride, so perhaps he's just going to be there or thereabouts, but we hope we pick him up then. As the victory then going to Rumsas ahead of Casagrande and Axelsson. Well, just this is how it happened, but how do you think Axelsson felt there in third spot? 500 metres to go, he was on his own, and then woof, round they came, and that was it. And Casagrande too, he's had a second and a third spot in the World Cup races already this season, looking for a victory in the final World Cup round, but just couldn't make it again. We may get this one on the headphones, just a minute. Still no sound coming in for some reason or other, so we can't pick that up for you. Sorry about that. Look then at this beautiful town of Bergamo. There's 2 different parts, by the way. You can see the old part here, and the two on the Città Bassa, which is was built in the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, and then the Città Alta, the lovely old town, which is where we are now. No, sorry we can't figure out what he's saying here. Quite a rich part of the world, by the way, because those who like Italian clothes, this is the centre of the clothing industry, and well known too. It's symphony orchestra and what have you, so it's a beautiful part of the world, a nice way to finish off the season. So we top and tail them. We started out with the Milan-San Remo, and then we tail it off with the Tour of Lombardy, and Casagrande coming up then, rather dejected second place. He worked so hard, and well, he towed up the Lithuanian at the end of it all, Rumsas, and I think he would recognise then that because Belli was the number one rider for the team, then there's every reason why he would sit in the wheels, but he just came swarming round there. So Casagrande missing out on that one. Won the Classic San Sebastian last year and stayed the Tour of Switzerland. He's had something like about 30 odd victories, Casagrande, but he hasn't got his victory in the World Cup this year as an individual event. He'll probably move himself a little bit up on the overall classification. He was second on the Hugh Classic and he was third in the Championship of Zurich. So looking at the list at the moment, Casagrande, well, Weinstein's came in this morning in third spot. Casagrande was back in fifth spot with 160 points. So he picked up, 70 points there, giving 230. So he's probably moved into third spot on the World Cup. And I think the order will be at the end of it all. Zabel will be the overall winner of the World Cup. And then Chamil should be second. I think that Casagrande at least will have moved up into third spot with that second place today in the Tour of Lombardy, when he just couldn't match the sizzling sprint of the Lithuanian rider Rumsas. Well, there we are, the beautiful city in the background then, Bergamo. That's the top bit that you can see up there. So there's the City Bassa and the City Alta, and the upper and lower city. And certainly that's a nice part to be up in the top bit all, with the beautiful Piazza Vecchia and nice fountains and delightful architecture that the Italians have produced over all these many years. Produced over the years some tremendous architects. And what I like about architecture in Italy is they did it like with flowing lines. They went down with a set square and a ruler and whatever. That was done with that sort of great flair that the Italians have for clothing and motor cars and architecture. Well, there we are now then, coming up onto the scene here. I've worked out first, second and third. I think I've got it right there, because Zabel certainly is going to be here as the leader on the final victor of the World Cup for the year 2000. Come into this race with 347 points, so he's now taking the jersey as the overall victor of the World Cup this year. Well, he started off the season in fine form by winning the Milan-San Remo. He'd used his time out in Australia, riding in the Tour Down Under, when he got a victory there on the last but one day, using the climb out of there to practice, I think, his climb up the Poggio. So he has now got enough points to take the leader's jersey. Up on the rostrum too, I can see that we've got Andre Chamil and Francesco Casagrande. Andre Chamil will be in second spot, and Francesco Casagrande overall. So there we are then. That's Zabel with the fizzy pop, and behind him in the red and black is Chamil. On the right hand side there you can see is Casagrande. Well, I hope you'll join us next week, coming up 11 o'clock Central European time. That's 10 o'clock British Eurosport time, the cycling track championships from Manchester. We're opening up that first day too as well with Jason Queally having a go at the kilometre which he got the gold medal in last year. So I hope you'll join me on that occasion. We're going back to look at the tennis, the semi-final between Ruben and Williams. This is from Litz, and then we're going on to Toulouse with Fru Macmillan and Simon Reed after that tennis. So me, David Duffield, goodbye for now.
Cycling World Cup with